How much is enough to put into the bucket of liquidity? We previously talked about the fact that one of these tension points in allocating enough to this tool is putting too much in and having an opportunity cost of that money not growing or that money being able to be used elsewhere more efficiently. But having too little as well is a risk. If I have too little and I have more expenses than I anticipate, then I have to go into investment accounts that may have lost money. I may incur debt or choose to use debt in order to cover these. And these are bad options. So let's take a look at liquidity from 2 points of view. One is, how do we establish the right amount when we begin retirement planning? And secondly, how do we continue to keep enough money year after year in the liquidity bucket? Because by nature, covering emergencies and covering unexpected expenses is dealing with expenses that by definition are unplanned, unexpected. So if you look at the very first inception or the beginning of how much is enough for liquidity, you want to quantify what your short-term goals are outside of your regular expenses over the coming 12 to 24 months. Upcoming car funds that you need to purchase, upcoming any other short-term goals that we're going to need money set aside or cash reserve set aside. You want to quantify that, and then you also want to quantify the unexpected expenses or the emergencies part. So if you're unsure about how much is enough there, take at least 3 months worth of your regular expenses, or $25,000, whichever one of those you're more comfortable with. Makes more sense to you based upon your circumstances. You could do up to 6 months worth of regular living expenses. But if you're completely unsure, $25,000 is at least a good starting spot for the unexpected expenses or emergencies, in addition to the upcoming short-term goals. Now, the second issue is you're going to fund those unexpected expenses and emergencies and short-term goals, and you're going to draw down the money that you have in savings over time. So how do we replenish or keep enough money in liquidity on an ongoing basis? And here's where we need to coordinate with the income goal. So in other words, our income goal is to have a sufficient amount of income to cover our regular retirement expenses between Social Security, between pensions, or other sources of predictable or guaranteed income, which we'll talk about in the future. You want to at least have that much income. But as you'll notice this plus sign, a little bit more. Why do you want to have a little bit more coming in on a predictable basis or on a guaranteed basis? Because you want to be able on an ongoing basis to replenish the liquidity funds, the unexpected expenses funds, the emergency funds. So even though you establish the right amount at the very beginning, every single year you want to have a little bit more income coming in than ongoing regular expenses each year, so that you can funnel back in to savings and the liquidity bucket, so that you don't have to draw on other types of accounts that may have penalties, may have losses. So in other words, if you have $50,000 worth of regular ongoing expenses that you need to fund, well, instead of bringing in $50,000, bring in 10% more. Bring in $55,000 a year. Put that $5,000 extra, just move it over into savings every single year. Every single year adding $5,000 into the liquidity bucket, so to speak, in order to keep it fully and properly funded over time.